With the release of Season 2 of Euphoria, there's a conversation being held about teen dramas and the moral responsibility of depicting underage characters. How do you feel about the portrayal of teenage characters going through heavy themes such as sex, drugs, and violence? Do you guys believe it is exploitation or could border on being exploitative, even if the actors are adults and if the show/movie is good? Or are people kind of overreacting? Sorry for the loaded question.
I don't know. Isn't the age rating on that show, like, mature anyway?
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah, they're all adults.
Like, put a fucking, if you want your kid to not be watching mature shows, then put the fucking content filter on your Xbox or whatever, your smart TV. Like, I don't know. Like, this isn't a new thing to have this.
Well, I didn't realize Euphoria has this whole reputation for being, like, pushing the line in terms of, you know, the extreme content and stuff. Maybe it just isn't less shocking because I'm like from Europe and the stuff on TV is kind of
it's
been a
fucking
bit more explicit and weird.
It's HBO also,
thing.
like you know, like Sopranos and shit. Like you should be able to write things about like younger characters, and still have like a mature show.
I guess the problem is that it's like they're like underage characters and you're seeing them naked and in a sexualized light, and you know, it's very, I haven't seen Euphoria, but my understanding is most of the scenes aren't intended to be sexy. You know, there is a more dark look at it, and I go back and forth because I think it is a little weird at times. I'm like, it's strange to like be like, oh, these are kids, but they're not, because it's actually a 20-year-old, because then you're acknowledging that complaint everyone has with the show that the people look too old to play their parts, you know. So there's like, why not just make the show about college students or something?
I think the controversy right now is more so about like leaving an impression on younger people to be like, oh, I want to be like Rue, I'm going to do a bunch of drugs or whatever.
Oh, it's for the kids. So
yeah, I think that's the complaint that I've been hearing is like,
shut up.
Yeah, like kids are doing drugs now.
Just people.
Kids weren't doing drugs before Euphoria, and now they're doing drugs.
People are fucking stupid.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I don't think media ever influences people in that way. You know, it's the same violent, you know, video games cause violence thing.
I do think media does influence people. I think that there are a certain amount of kids that will watch Rue do drugs and be like, I'm going to take fentanyl now. But there's also a certain amount of adults that watch like The Wolf of Wall Street and they're like, I'm, you know, or like any mobster movie or anything and be like, I want to be like that guy. Like, I think it's a deeper problem of like parenting and education, and not necessarily the types of fictional media that people consume. It's about how people interpret them and how people engage with them. Like, that's a problem. And you don't solve that problem by just banning certain forms of media and saying you can't make things in that way. That's not how you solve the problem.
Yeah, I guess my point is that like the people wouldn't, like, the person who would watch Euphoria then take fentanyl is probably already in an environment with a parenting, you know, situation
there's worse
has
problems
pushed them
for that person.
already really close to doing this. Like, Euphoria would have to be the straw that broke the camel's back. It wouldn't take somebody from a pure upbringing with no access to drugs and push them to suddenly do drugs. You know,
parents would be looking for someone to blame, so they choose the show.
Media could nudge people who are already close to doing something. I don't think it could completely alter someone, you know, and I guess that's the way the media is depicting it now, that like good innocent children will watch Euphoria then start doing bad things. You know, I don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah,
it's dumb.
Satanic panic. Brainwashing. Yeah, I understand. I understand where people are coming from in terms of like a moral responsibility, but yeah, I think that a much more dangerous show for children was 13 Reasons Why, because that was aimed at children. It wasn't as content heavy, like it wasn't as explicit. It was aimed at children and it glorified suicide. Like,
yeah, much less tasteful in its depiction.
Yeah, it was like, hey, children who are thinking about committing suicide, this is your show. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, everyone will feel really sorry for you and you'll be like omniscient and everybody will be, you know, really concerned about blah, 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 blah. You'll be held up as like a god. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I think that suicide rates went up after that show was released, right? Like that actually had some
I'm pretty sure
real world impact. So I'm not going to pretend like media doesn't influence people, especially children, especially like really hormonal, like figuring out your life, maybe depressed sort of thing. So be conscious about what the media that you're putting out there and how people might perceive it. But Euphoria is not like a kid's show. Fuck off, right? Like,
No, it really isn't aimed at kids at all. Yeah, it's an HBO show. It's like it's the same channel as the fucking Sopranos.
Yeah,
Boardwalk Empire. There's some people who just have they don't have their own issues figured out, and they need to take it out on a show. They don't even watch. It's just like there's too much nudity, it's too much violence, or whatever. It's just like, okay, but there's people who are like fully formed human beings who can watch that and like just watch it as art and view it and move on and like just share their experience online or whatever. It's pretty dumb. I mean, I don't think most people watch this shit are like influenced to like become fucking drug addicts or like murderers or like it's the Sopranos didn't make me want to join the mafia.
Well, you're already in the mafia, so
exactly I'm already in the mafia.
I mean, like, the creator of Euphoria has been really explicit about how the stories he writes, especially within Euphoria, are essentially just him talking about his own previous life experiences growing up and being addicted and, like struggles that he was having.
He seems like a really woke guy just from watching his movies and like his interviews. He seems very woke, and it's like
I mean, I don't think he's talking about his own real life. I don't think
he's like a bad guy, right? He seems like a fine like guy. Like
I'm just saying, people should be able to express that part of themselves. Like if he's doing that and he feels like catharsis or like some form of therapy doing that,
like at this rate no one should be making shows because everyone's like flawed in some way. Like, he seems fine. It's better than Malcolm and Marie probably, although I'm probably not going to watch Euphoria in its full.
I mean, it's good. It's much more well shot and well directed than Malcolm and Marie.
That seems like that. It definitely seems that way. Have you seen Malcolm and Marie?
No, I haven't. I think I listened to your guys' discussion, or you had talked about it, but I've never watched it.
We were a little light on it, I think. A little, like, easy on it.
I was fine. It didn't, it didn't like hurt me. But
Euphoria seems to have like more of an impact.
Yeah.
That seemed kind of. It was just kind of lame. Like a couple arguing, not in a good way, not like Fences, where it was like all improv. It seemed like it wanted to be Fences, but was like completely failing at it. It's like totally misfiring.